if I want to send you money, I have to have a bank account. You have to have a bank account. They charge me a wire fee. If I want to send you a Bitcoin, I punch a couple buttons and it's yours. So that frightens them to death because their monopoly on friction. So governments have a monopoly on violence. Banks have a monopoly on friction. There never was any inflation. Everybody says, "Oh, what are you talking about? Inflation was 8%. No, it wasn't. I mean, inflation is when there's excess demand, limited supply, prices rise. Right. What we had was currency devaluation. So post-lockdowns in 2020, they doubled the money supply over 18 months. Think about that. 244 years as a republic, $10 trillion. 2 years, $10 trillion. Crazy. I mean, literally crazy, off the charts, cult of Kelton. And everyone's shocked. I mean, shocked, I tell you, Paul, that their house went up or oil prices went up or used car prices went up. No, none of those things got better. None of them increased in demand. The demand actually went down because we were all locked in our homes and apartments. It was the money got worse. And so now the money supply is contracting. And shockingly, it's the first time it's contracted in over 100 years. U.S. money supply has grown at 7.5% on average every year for about 110 years. We finally just contracted it. And shockingly, prices are, quote unquote, rising less fast. They're actually not falling, right? Yeah. They're rising less fast. I love how the president says something like, we've eliminated inflation. No. We got back to a level that's only 50% higher than the stated rate at 3% instead of 2%. But it's all dumb, right? That's a technical term, dumb. It's a stealth wealth tax. It's been going on since 1913. The goal is to steal from the poor and give to the rich. And they're really good at it. In fact, we have the highest and worst wealth and income inequality in the history of the country. And it's because of the creation of the Fed and the ability of a non-government. Remember, the Federal Reserve is not federal, nor does it have any reserves. It's not a bank. Right. It is a group of bankers that own a private corporation that controls the price of money. And price controls are bad. They've never been good. Rent controls are bad. Minimum wage is bad. Every price control is bad. The market should decide prices. And they've been controlling the price of money so that they can steal from the people who don't own things and give it to the people at the top of the pyramid who do. Fiat is the primary tool for the kleptocrats, right? The people at the top, the few, to steal from the rest of us, right? If I can take a currency and I can devalue it in front of your eyes by printing more of it out of thin air, then I get richer. Now, if you take that away from me, because Bitcoin is a deflationary currency, not an inflationary currency, it actually goes up in value as the currency it's priced in goes down. Because let's remember, one Bitcoin, 21 million in the history of the world, probably less than that because some are lost or stolen. So 21 million, let's call it 18 million units. One Bitcoin will always be one Bitcoin. But it's not priced in Bitcoin. It's priced in dollars or yen or euros. And when we price in those currencies, we find that it is a perfect store of value, similar to gold. And that's the reason that the feds don't like it. The government doesn't like it. Ms. Warren doesn't like it. They are afraid of it. They're absolutely terrified that this perfect money takes away their, they believe, God-given right? It says, "In God we trust" on the back of the currency. But it's kind of wild and kind of crazy. And if you just stop for a second and think about it, and think about why do we let this small group of people control the price of money, we'd probably rebel. But we don't, because we're comfortable. We have pretty good high quality of life. The water runs, the heat works for most of us. Now, there are a whole bunch of people who are very uncomfortable, don't get me wrong. But on average, the average person has a pretty good life. And so they don't feel the slow, stealth wealth tax that is
Right.
inflation, because it's only 2% a year. What's that? Well, it takes half your purchasing power over a 30-year period.
Hey, crypto explorers. Welcome back to Crypto Street, where we break down the crypto roller coaster in style. Hit that subscribe button, buckle up, and let's talk the thrilling world of Bitcoin as we wrap up 2023. Bitcoin is gearing up to close in 2023 as one of the hottest assets in town. Kaiko Research just dropped a bombshell report saying BTC's on fire, clocking in a mind-blowing 160% surge this year. Is the bull market making a comeback? Let's find out. Kaiko's report spills the beans. Bitcoin is outshining most traditional assets despite a bumpy ride in the macroeconomic arena and some crypto industry hurdles. Only a handful are keeping up, and guess who's the star performer?
NVIDIA
Corp, soaring over 228%. Kaiko breaks down Bitcoin's 2023 roller coaster into 3 acts: the early rally, the mid-year stall, and the end-of-year rally. Hold up, that mid-year stall, a bit strange. Traded between $25,000 and $30,000 for months until the BlackRock ETF rumor lit the fuse, setting BTC from $28,000 to over $45,000. Kaiko says BTC's got one of the best Sharpe ratios, just after
NVIDIA.
As of now, Bitcoin's flexing at $43,864, showing off a 0.5% boost in the past 24 hours. The recovery vibes are strong, up more than 4% in the last week. And hey, BTC's still wearing the crown in the crypto kingdom, with a whopping market cap of over $858 billion. Now let's continue our discussion with Mark Yusko.
We're talking about opening up about 30 trillion, okay, round numbers, 30 trillion with a T. And, trillion is just a number that it rolls off the tongue, but no one really understands it.
How big it is.
To really understand it, you and I would have to sit here on air for 31,710 years and spend $1 every second. That's 1 trillion. So 30 of those units are going to be opened up on, I believe, January 8th next year when they crown the king on the king's birthday. That's my little thing. On Elvis's birthday, they will crown BlackRock.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I forgot about
that. So I think that happens on that Monday. And when that happens, that $30 trillion now at UBS and Merrill Lynch and all these places that prohibit you from, use it. Here's the crazy thing. We live in this permissioned world, and yet we all tolerate it, right? We put our money in the bank. It's now the bank's money, and we can use it if they give us permission. And yes, they give us permission most of the time, but sometimes they don't, right? Imagine waking up in, the island in Europe, back in 2013, 14, where they took in Cyprus, where they took 3/4 of your money, right? Because they had led money to a bunch of Russian oligarchs and it got confiscated. So
Lebanon.
Your money's gone.
Yep.
Or how about La Jolla Savings Bank? You put your money in, thought it was safe, and it's gone. So one of the things about permissioned worlds is they like that control. And what they really like, Paul, is they extract $7 trillion every year globally, from us in the form of account fees, accounting fees, audit fees, transaction fees. If I want to send you money, I have to have a bank account. You have to have a bank account. They charge me a wire fee. If I want to send you a Bitcoin, I punch a couple buttons and it's yours. So that frightens them to death because their monopoly on friction. So governments have a monopoly on violence. Banks have a monopoly on friction. And that's the first time I ever said that. I like that. And that monopoly is about to vanish.
Yeah.
And that terrifies them. And I think once we get the sense that, well, wait a minute, I don't have to live in a permissioned world. I tell a story all the time that, the first time I tried to transfer money from my Bank of America account to Coinbase to buy some assets, and we were early investors in Coinbase, and so I still use them. People say, not your keys, not your coins. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I use Coinbase because I like the business. And so long story short, Bank of America said, 14 days. Like, what do you mean 14 days? I said, well, did you read the fine print?
Yeah.
Did you read? Of course, I didn't read the fine print, you morons. Now, I don't bank at Bank of America anymore because that's BS. Now, I know the current bank I'm with could do the same thing, but they haven't yet. And in that world, ultimately, billions of people will use digital assets. I say this all the time, and I'll use the prop.
The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, says that it deeply regrets the errors made in the case against crypto firm Debtbox after the court found that the agency made materially false and misleading representations. However, the SEC claimed that sanctions are not warranted, adding that it will conduct mandatory training for staff involved to avoid similar errors in the future. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission's former head of Internet Enforcement, crypto skeptic, now believes that the SEC is likely to approve a spot Bitcoin exchange-traded fund, ETF. He further expressed that the legacy of SEC Chair Gary Gensler could be the approval of a spot Bitcoin ETF, emphasizing that is a mammoth victory for BitCrypto. BlackRock has revealed a plan to seed its spot Bitcoin exchange-traded fund, ETF, with $10 million on January 3. The world's largest asset manager has engaged in 6 recent meetings with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, to address its filing. In response to the SEC's concerns, the firm has opted for the cash creation model, departing from its initial preference for the in-kind model. On Saturday, the smart contract platform Solana's token, Solana, SOL, eclipsed the $100 threshold, achieving a weekly growth exceeding 36% against the US dollar. Throughout the year, investor sentiment towards Solana, SOL has remained overwhelmingly positive, intensifying following the conviction of ex-FTX chief Sam Bankman-Fried on multiple charges on November 2, 2023. That wraps up today's crypto news highlights. Stay tuned for more updates, insights, and analysis from the world of cryptocurrencies. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content.